We still have some people coming in and joining us today. Welcome. You are now in session number 3, Title IV Reconciliation, What's in Your Toolkit. There are plenty of seats up front and in the middle if you want to move in where you can see better, but you also have access to screens on either side of the podium. My name is Allison Richards. I am the School Reconciliation Branch Chief within Funds Management Division of FSA. I have been with the Department of Education for 23 years, and most of that time has been spent in the area of reconciliation. Joining me today, I have Miss Lisa Howell. She is on my staff in the School Reconciliation Branch, and we spend quite a bit of time working directly with colleges, universities in the reconciliation arena. So hopefully we have some good information to impart to you today. And before I forget, we also have joining us our COD reconciliation coordinators. A few of them have come and traveled to the conference. They are sitting up front, and they'll wave to you up here. And also we have Accenture staff, our COD contractor, here as well. They're available in the Resource Center that is now open at the COD resource table as well for questions after the session. So welcome. A few housekeeping items. Make sure that you have taken note of the exits in the room. There are several behind you, and there are some over to this side as well, should you need to leave during the session, either due to a personal need, a business need, or an emergency. Please use those exits expeditiously. Another housekeeping item, if you have your cell phone on you, please make sure that it has been silenced so that we don't have any unintended interruptions for the session. Okay. We will ask you to hold your questions until the end of this session so that we can get through all of our content. We will make sure that we leave at least 15 minutes to answer those questions. If you have questions that you are unable to get answered in the session, you can see us afterwards. Please make sure we will be making a beeline for the doors so that they can set up for the next session, but we will hang around right outside and answer questions, and we will ask our COD recon coordinators to stay as well. And other than that, you can come find the COD table at the Resource Center. Okay, so with that, let's get started. Our agenda for today has a common theme. Everything is built around your toolkit. Do we have any tool guys and gals out here in the audience? Anyone who's handy with the hammer and other tools? No volunteers. Okay, well, the purpose of today's session is to focus on those tools that are most useful for reconciliation. So if you are interested in those tools, you are in the right place. With that, I'm going to get us started on our main content with building a framework, key concepts. So I will turn you over to Miss Lisa Howell and let her proceed. Lisa, take it away.
Thank you, Allison. Hello, everyone. Oh, wow, I'm sure some folks out there that I've probably talked to on the phone is like, wow, that's Lisa. Well, hopefully I'll get to meet you when it's all over and done with today. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's get started with building your framework, looking at some key concepts associated with reconciliation. Okay, we're going to start with the general and specific reconciliation definition. The general is pretty generic. It's to bring into agreement and harmony. However, you have your specific, which is also related to Title IV aid. In this process, you review, compare school records with the Department of Education systems, and they must, the key word is must, identify and resolve discrepancies and document reasons for any ending cash balances. We're going to take a quick look at a few rules and regulations associated with reconciliation. You have monthly reconciliation, which is required for schools participating in Title IV, such as direct loans, federal Perkins, federal work study, federal supplemental educational opportunity grant. And then you have your regular reconciliation, which is recommended for all Title IV aid programs, including Pell Grant and Teach. Regular reconciliation helps you to identify issues with cash management and disbursement reporting, and it demonstrates administrative capability. All I want to ask you to do is to please make sure you refer to our FSA handbook for more information on monthly and regular reconciliation. Now we have our award year deadline dates, which are published annually via the Federal Register. It determines the data submission deadlines for an award year and the extension request period. And it also determines disbursement reporting timelines, such as schools have up to 15 days to report a disbursement. Schools have up to 15 days after need is determined to submit disbursement adjustments. Okay. We're going to move on from there. Now we're going to look at the definitions of some regulatory requirement. What is a disbursement? The moment you credit a student's ledger account or pay the student or parent directly, you've officially dispersed Title IV aid program funds. Okay? Cash management is the requirement that governs how you request, maintain, disperse, and manage your Title IV program funds. And then there's, excess idle cash. Those are the funds that you guys have not dispersed, okay, to a student by the 3rd business day following the date your institution received those from the Department of Education. Then we're going to look at 2 payment methods that are part of our regulations, which is advance payment, which is the initial authorization that applies to DL and campus-based programs, where the schools receives an authorization known as current funding level, CFL and COD system, similar to a credit limit. And then we have records first processing, where the school reports disbursements and then drawdown of funds, which increases the authorization or CFL. Pell and Teach programs operates on a records first basis. We have heightened cash monitoring and reimbursement. Schools must provide additional documentation in support of their disbursement data prior to receiving those funds. There's no initial authorization required. FSA approval may be required before funds can be received. For more information on that, you can refer to the FSA handbook, which is Volume 4, Chapter 1, Requesting and Managing FSA Funds. Reconciliation. What exactly is reconciliation? Reconciliation, direct loan reconciliation, is the process by which direct loan funds received and dispersed as recorded on the Department of Education systems are reviewed and compared with internal records. Internal records match Department of Education's amounts and disbursement dates. Drawdowns equals disbursements, and in the program year processing, all records should balance to $0. Pell, Iraq, and Afghanistan service grants, Teach and DL program, disbursements must be accepted on the COD system. Campus-based schools must file a FSAP annually and verify the expenditures reported on the FSAP match the school's internal records. Reconciliation, which is internal and external. Internal reconciliation, it forms a check and balance of reconciled data between Department of Education, Financial Aid Office, and the Business Office. All systems should be in balance, and you should clearly understand any reason for any ending cash balances. As you can see the little diagram here, we have the internal reconciliation, the process by which the Financial Aid Office and the Business Office compare your data and your records in your systems for consistency purposes. Internal reconciliation ensures amounts and date matches the date in the school's financial aid software. Net drawdowns equal net accepted and posted disbursements. Cash is not held beyond cash management requirements. Internal cash transactions match school bank statements and ledgers, and records transmitted electronically between offices within the school environment match. External reconciliation, which is the process by which the school compares its reconciled internal records to the Department of Education's records in COD and/or FSAP. Disbursement transactions, school disbursement records must match COD or FSAP, and for cash transactions, drawdowns, adjustments, and refunds of cash must also match COD or FSAP. This slide here illustrates the external reconciliation process by which comparing the financial aid business office information with the Department of Education systems, FSAP, COD, and G5 as a resource. Okay, now we're going to look at what is closeout. Closeout is the process of identifying and submitting any outstanding records for an award year and returning any funds which there are no records to substantiate its use. Closeout should be one final month of reconciliation that results in a zero cash balance in all systems, which also ensures all cash management and disbursement reporting requirements are met and occurs shortly after final disbursement for a program and award. Just to give you an example, for DL, schools should be able to close out within a month or two of their latest award end date or last disbursement. This screen here is pretty self-explanatory. It just shows you the last business days for processing the data submission deadlines, which you have Pell in Afghanistan, you have Pell in ISG, the last day in Antige, the last business day of September for the award year. And then you have DL, which is the last business day in July. Data submission deadlines for campus-based. This deadline is for requesting funds for upcoming 2020-21 award year and for reporting expenditures for the most recently completed award year, 2018-19. Any outstanding funds will result in an account receivables and will accrue interest. For additional information on campus-based program, please visit Session 15, Reporting for Campus-Based Programs. Funding cancellation. Pell and campus-based programs Funding cancellation occurs 5 years after the data submission deadline. For example, the 2014-15 award year closes on September 30th, 2015. The funding cancellation occurred September 30th, 2020, will occur September 30th, 2020. Whereas no further award or disbursement data can be submitted to COD, and funding is no longer available in G5 for the program and award year. Okay, now that we've covered the key concepts, I'm going to turn this back over to Allison so she can get you started with filling your toolkit.
Thanks, Lisa. As Confucius once said, once I get my quote in front of me, little levity. As Confucius once said, the mechanic that would perfect his work must first sharpen his tools. And I want to add to that that before sharpening, you have to actually identify what those tools are. So that's what we're going to do today. So let's start with tools in your toolkit for Pell Direct Loan and Teach. The School Account Statement, or SAS. This is your primary reconciliation tool for Pell Direct Loan and Teach. And I'm going to say that several times. This is your primary tool. And the reason is that it provides a bank statement. It gives you both your summary balance information as well as detailed transaction information similar to what you would receive on a bank statement for your personal accounts. Now let me ask, how many of you actually reconcile to your bank statement on a monthly or regular basis? Show of hands. Great, there's a fair number of you that do. What I'm finding is that fewer and fewer people are using either your electronic or your paper bank statement for that reconciliation process. This is a mistake. And the reason is that that provides the official balance information for your personal accounts, and the SAS does the same thing for your Title IV aid funds. Okay. As I said, the SAS contains ED's official cash balance for your school. The data in the SAS is always as of the end of the reported month. You'll receive the SAS after the first full weekend of the subsequent month, with data through the end of that month. You'll receive a separate SAS for each school, program, and award year. So you may be receiving more than one SAS at the same time, at the same point in the month. And in fact, you probably will be receiving more than one SAS because those funds are school, program, and award year specific, so is your report. Make sure you're using the right report for the reconciliation that you're trying to complete. And one more time, this is your primary tool in your reconciliation toolkit, just like your bank statement is your primary tool for your personal accounts. There are some differences between the SAS, between the different programs. So I'm going to highlight a couple here. For Pell, the SAS is available for award year 17, 18, and forward. Hopefully at this point, you are not still needing to reconcile the older award years. But if you are, there are other tools available that we'll discuss a little bit later in the presentation. Okay. For 17, 18, and forward, use your SAS. It comes in a comma delimited with headers format, which when pulled into Excel or any spreadsheet or database program, will format like a regular report. And you can print that out if you like to work with paper. You can use it electronically to compare to your school records. It contains 3 sections. It includes the cash summary record. This is essential to your reconciliation processes. That cash summary record, despite its name, is not just cash. It gives you totals for both cash and disbursement data that you can then compare to your internal financial aid and business office records to see if those totals match. Okay? It's the best place to start. After that, you have some detail records. cash detail would give you that detailed transaction level cash information of any drawdowns, drawdown adjustments, refunds of cash. And then there's also an award or disbursement level detail section that provides that disbursement information either at the student award level or at that disbursement detail level. For direct loan and teach, the SAS is available for all award years that have processed in the COD system. So for teach, that is 2008, 2009 and forward. Yes, we go that far back. And for direct loans, it's the 2011, 2012 award year and forward. The direct loan SAS has a couple of format options, including fixed length or delimited, either with or without headers, and the Teach SAS, like Pell, comes in a comma delimited with headers format. These reports have 3 to 4 sections, which are similar to what I discussed with Pell. You're always going to get a cash summary record for that program and award year. For direct loans, you may also optionally receive the disbursement summary by loan type. That provides summary numbers by loan type, sub, unsub, and plus, that some schools like to compare to their financial aid or business office records, depending how they keep them, to determine whether those totals are correct. You also can receive cash detail transactions, just like Pell, and then that loan, award, or disbursement detail level information. So, what do you do when you receive your SAS report? The first thing you're going to do is compare that cash summary record. Remember, I said that gives you that great insight into your cash and disbursement level totals, as well as your official ending cash balance. When you compare those totals, you can determine whether they match. If they do match, for that month, you can consider your reconciliation complete. However, I would like to add that as an additional measure, several times throughout your processing, and definitely at the end of your award year processing, when you're ready to close out, you want to compare that disbursement level detail. And here's why. Most of you have probably experienced, see it every day, that you can have 2 students with exactly the same disbursement amount. If for some reason you manage to report student A with a disbursement amount, and that's stored in COD, but you meant to report student B, you're not going to catch that at a summary level reconciliation. The dollar amounts match, but you may have incorrect records. So you want to do that disbursement detail level comparison to make sure that you've got all of your students correct in your systems and in the Department of Education systems. What do you do if that cash summary record doesn't match? You want to then dig deeper into the numbers that do not match. You can compare cash detail or disbursement detail depending on where your issues may lie. At that point, you want to resolve any issues that you've discovered, and if they're not resolved, keep working on it. Once they are resolved, your reconciliation is complete. But you want to make sure that you document, especially for programs where monthly reconciliation is required. You must create documentation of that monthly reconciliation and keep that in your records per the record retention requirements. We've heard from many schools over the years where they have their internal auditor come in, or they have an external compliance audit or program review, and the auditor or reviewer is asking for those records of reconciliation. You need to make sure you're maintaining those. In addition, you need those month to month so that you can see that everything that you may have identified as an issue in a prior month has been resolved and reconciled in the subsequent months. So a couple reasons for that. Let's look at a couple other tools that are available to supplement your monthly reconciliation or regular reconciliation efforts. The SAS Disbursement Detail on Demand provides a good tool for ad hoc reconciliation during the month. It is similar in format to the monthly SAS report that is sent to your school via SAIG, but it's only for disbursement detail records. For Pell, that's available award year 17, 18, and forward, and DL and Teach have all award years available. It can be requested through a COD website report request, and I'm going to show you those screens in a moment. And the file gets delivered to your SAIG mailbox on the next business day. It's available as a monthly, year-to-date, or date range file, so there is some flexibility in the type and amount of data you receive for that supplemental reconciliation. Here is the screen in COD where you can make the request. It's under Batch menu, Report Requests, and New Report Requests. And then you want to make sure that you select the request type of SAS Disbursement Detail On-Demand Request. Select the correct program and award year, the report format that you would like, and the other options that are available. Okay. This screen is very dynamic. It will change depending on the program, depending on the award year that you are selecting, so that you only get those options that are applicable. You don't have to try to figure it out on your own. The screen will help you do that. Let's look at some other tools. Edit code rejects and warnings. These are returned in the Common Record batch response to your school, and are very important for troubleshooting issues before they get to be a reconciliation issue. So if you're monitoring those batch responses on a regular basis, you can prevent a lot of reconciliation issues down the line. Warnings indicate a potential problem, but when you get a warning, that record is still built in COD. So you may want to research whether it's truly an issue, but the record is in COD. Rejects, on the other hand, indicate that the award or disbursement was not built in the system, and you must resolve those before they become a reconciliation issue. I recommend that you set aside time daily, weekly, or on a schedule that makes sense for your school to resolve those rejects. Remember when Lisa was talking about funding for Title IV programs. Because direct loan is an advance funded program, if you have a large number of rejected records, it can lead to unsubstantiated cash in our systems. So again, make sure you're resolving them timely so that you can meet your cash management and disbursement reporting requirements. For Pell Grant, Teach, and Direct Loan HCM1 schools or Records First schools, you need to keep in mind that those rejected disbursement records aren't going to increase your funding, so you may not have funds available to your school if you haven't resolved them timely. And just a note that most school services calls to COD are for edit code rejects. We absolutely recommend you call in if you can't get those resolved, because there's a lot that our COD staff can do to help you troubleshoot the issues. If you're able to figure them out on your own, great, we're happy, move on your way. But if you're not, there is help available. Okay. Some information on edit code rejects. Your school may have a report in your software or school system that you can run. This is just an example for ED Express schools. The list status report can be very helpful in identifying what's missing and where to go next. The COD technical reference has some great information. You go to the Ifap homepage and choose publications, and then you can click on the COD technical reference and pull up your Volume 2, Section 4. Here's an example of that, and you can search by your reject or warning edit code. So in this case, we're looking at 039. That gives you your edit code. And it gives you a description and then some information on how to fix that record. So a very good resource. Let's look at the COD anticipated disbursement queue. We've talked a lot about some of the tools that help you with actual disbursements. Anticipated disbursement queue can really help you in identifying disbursements that are still in an anticipated or pending status. And these are disbursements that you may need to report as actuals, or they may need to be reduced, particularly for concerns related to subsidized usage limit applies, SULA. You need to make sure that you're keeping those records clean and reduced to zero to prevent students from having issues accessing additional funds. We recommend you run this queue monthly and at the end of the year to ensure that you don't have any missing records to report to the department. Here's the school summary information screen. This is a good page to check often to confirm that that prior years are reconciled to zero or to check on current year's balances. You'll see on the right-hand side it has both cash greater than net accepted and posted disbursements and older than 30 days. That's your unsubstantiated cash. I'll say that again, unsubstantiated cash. And then on the left-hand side of the screen, it has some of your contacts at the school. You can get more information on your contacts under the financial aid contact link on the left-hand side. And it's important to keep those school official contacts up to date. We use those for outreach and we use them for correspondence to the schools. So if you need to update president, CFO, financial aid administrator, you can do that on the EAP at lhcert.ed.gov listed here. Here's the school funding information page, and I'm going to show you a little bit of different information between the programs, starting with direct loans. And we'll look at current funding level. This is the amount of funds available to your school. Similar to, for an advanced funded school, it's going to be similar to a credit limit. For schools that are records first or in a records first program, it should remain in alignment with your net accepted and posted disbursements and increase as that increases. It also reflects your available balance. These are your funds available to draw down. So that's your CFL minus any draws. And then cash greater than net accepted and posted disbursements, which is your net drawdowns minus your net accepted and posted disbursements. And that's the number that you want to make sure is moving towards zero. It may fluctuate during your processing year, but at the end of the year, we're going to see it go down to that zero balance. A positive number indicates that you may have funds owed or disbursements remaining to report, and a negative number indicates you may have disbursement adjustments. You've reported too many disbursements. Now there's adjustments you need to report. Or you may have additional funds to draw down. But make sure that if there's a negative balance, that you have reconciled your total disbursements before you draw additional funds, because you don't want to end up in an overdrawn situation when you find you have additional adjustments. The Pell, here's the same page for Pell. Again, it's got CFL, just like direct loan. It will be based on actual disbursements and adjustments. And then there's some additional fields for Pell. There's the unduplicated recipients, which reflects the number of students with at least one Pell disbursement. And each student is only counted once. The reason this number is important is that it's used to calculate your administrative cost allowance, which is that $5 per student payment that is made available to schools 3 times during the year for you to draw down in support of your Pell processing. The ACA payment history report is this blue link here. And that provides a history of those ACA payments and the number of unduplicated recipients associated with each. Sorry, I went back. There we go. At the bottom of the page is the school funding history report link, which if you select that, you can get a nice report that shows a history of your authorization CFL numbers and your all of your cash transaction actions by type. You'll see date and the amount by type on this report. It's a good supplemental reconciliation tool, particularly if you had timing differences at the end of the month. And Lisa will talk more about those common discrepancies in a moment. School summary financial information page. This is really useful for direct loan and teach. It mirrors that cash summary record for those programs. So you'll see that it includes net drawdowns payments, total net book disbursements, and ending cash balance. Balance confirmation page. This is where your school can confirm that you are ready to close out for an award year. You will enter your school cash balance amount and end date, which should be 0 and should be reconciled to your school account statement before you complete this step. And then you can click I agree. This page allows you to confirm your balance and close out for Pell or Teach for the 16-17 award year and forward, and for direct loan, all award years. And you want to make sure that your balances are 0. The results are a closeout letter that goes to your FAA and president at your school. The system, after you've closed out, will reject award and disbursement data depending on program. And I say that because for Pell Grant program, decreased disbursement data will continue to process in the COD system if sent. And then only increased data will reject. For direct loan and teach, all data is going to reject without reopening or requesting an extension. It also will result in a funding reduction if needed. And it turns off the SAS. This is important because it ends regular reconciliation unless your school's balance changes. This is the Request Reopen Extended Processing page. This is, again, a very smart page in COD. It serves 2 functions. Those functions include reopening a confirmed closed award year. So, for example, maybe you completed your balance confirmation page successfully. Then you discover that you have some stale dated checks and you need to return funds to the department. In addition, you need to make those disbursement adjustments in COD. You can go into this page, and if it's before the deadline, the closeout deadline, completing this page will automatically reopen your school and allow you to send in the data you need to submit. It also, after that closeout deadline, allows you to request extended processing. This is available for all award years for DL, Pell, and Teach, and is needed for that Pell increased disbursement data. You do not need to request an extension if you need to submit Pell decreased disbursement data. And then for direct loan or teach, it's for both increase and decreased disbursement data. We've talked a lot about COD. Let's look a little bit at G5. G5 is an important supplemental reconciliation tool. A lot of business offices like to use it to reconcile to their general ledger accounts, to their bank statements showing the deposits that have been made, and refunds of cash that were sent back. It's also, in order to access the system, individual users must register. There is read-only access available, and we highly recommend that for financial aid staff or for business office staff that maybe don't do the draws and refunds but need to access information for reconciliation purposes. You must set up a bank account for your school and a bank account for refunds as well. And there's another note about regulations for maintaining and accounting for funds. G5 award numbers. These are used in the G5 system to indicate which school, program, and award year for which you're conducting activity in the system. The examples listed here are for the 1920 award year, and you'll see that the numbers differ by program, as well as the way that we signify the award year differs. So, the first few characters of your G5 award number will cover your CFDA subpart, which I drew a blank on CFDA all of a sudden. but I'll get that to you. And then the two-digit year that's highlighted in red here indicates what award year that you're functioning in. So for direct loan and teach, it's always the trailing award year, 1920. You'll see 20 in the number. And for the other programs, it's the leading year. So you'll see 19 in the year. Followed by the 4 digits that represent each school's unique G5 award ID, or for campus-based, this is going to be your serial number, okay? And those two are different. You want to make sure that you're using the correct award ID for those last 4 digits, particularly if you're corresponding with the help desk, either through email or over the phone, so that you're accessing the correct data. G5 reports that are helpful: the External Award Activity Report, which is available under the Reports menu, gives you a report very similar to what we looked at in COD for the School Funding History Report. You get summary level data about authorizations, draws, refunds, and adjustments. Oops. And then you get the detailed transaction information. Some additional Pell reports that are available from COD: electronic statement of account, which contains initial obligation authorization, changes to obligation and authorization, both by date and amount, as well as a number of unduplicated year-to-date recipients. The reconciliation report, which is available, can be pushed to your school through SAIG based on school request, provides a summary disbursement record by each student year-to-date data, and includes verification and Pell Grant over award project POP status, as well as lifetime eligibility used. The year-to-date file is a little bit different, also available through SAIG by data request, and that provides detailed disbursement level information and can be helped to rebuild lost data for the school or for reconciliation purposes. Here's where you would make a Pell data request. It's batch report requests, new report request, just like that SAS disbursement detail on demand, but now you would choose the grant data request. The reports available there are listed on the screen. We haven't reviewed all of these, but several of them are in the presentation. ED Express has an excellent tool for Pell that allows you to import and compare the SAS file. It's available for 18, 19, and forward, and allows you to import that file and compare it to your school data. This works for both ED Express and non-ED Express schools. You don't need to process aid through ED Express, but you will have to work with your programmers or software providers to ensure that they can create the file needed for import into the software. More information is available on the link on the slide. Let's look at a couple of extra direct loan reports. The actual disbursement list. This is a report that is sent weekly through SAIG and provides a list of actual disbursements accepted in COD for your school for just a reported week. So it's just a week window. It contains both booked and unbooked disbursements, and you can also access a copy through the school newsbox services menu. DL Tools has a SAS import and compare very similar to what I discussed with Pell. Direct Loan Tools has been around a lot longer, and it exists as a separate software package. Just like the ED Express Pell tool, you don't need to process an ED Express to be able to use the tool. You can create a file from your system that can be imported and compared. Campus-based reports are available under the school, and then down on the left-hand side, campus-based system. And that brings up your campus-based homepage. On the left-hand side of this page, there is a self-service section, and you can choose notifications. Under campus-based documents, there is a statement of account. This is similar to the Pell electronic statement of account that I described earlier. And when you choose view, you can see a history of the CFL transactions, the changes in authorization for campus-based programs. Non-program specific reports, the COD School Monitoring Report is an excellent tool to identify the following conditions. Unsubstantiated cash greater than NAPD and older than 30 days. Pell Grant potential over-award process summary information, and 30-day disbursement reporting. This gives you information on whether your school is reporting your data timely to the COD system. If your school meets any of the conditions, you will receive this in your SAIG mailbox as a pre-formatted text file, and it's also available on the COD website. And that's generated weekly. One last tool I want to touch on is Ifap Announcements. Please, please, please check Ifap regularly to look for updated information. You can find this in the What's New section, and you can access historical information on reconciliation and closeout under the iLibrary link. With that, let's take a quick look at what is the right tool for the job. I'm going to turn you over to Lisa. Thank you.
Okay, thanks again, Allison. At this point, we're going to take a look at what tools are actually right for the job, okay? And I just want to point out one thing. For this section, all the blue highlighted items are actual tools that Allison has just discussed with you guys, so I'm not going to talk much on those. So I just wanted to point that out to you, okay? Here we have tools for internal reconciliation. Internal reconciliation ensures your business office and your financial aid records agree with what your student requested and is eligible for. You do your regular comparison with your bank statements to internal summary cash detail transactions. But one thing I do want to point out is it helps you to also verify that stale dated uncashed checks have been received and excuse me, have been resolved by returning any unclaimed funds and processing the corresponding downward adjustments to disbursements. And no disbursements are in a Pell Grant potential over award project, which is a POP situation. And I need you to please be sure to go to the FSA Handbook Volume 4, Chapter 3 to look at the over awards and overpayments. Regular check-ins between the financial aid office and the business office are essential for good communications and to ensure all records are reconciled. During these check-ins, ask the following questions. Do disbursement reported match disbursements posted? Okay. And do the draws and the refunds of cash match disbursements? If your school uses a third-party servicer, ensure that the school's internal records, financial aid and business office, match the third-party servicer's records. Ultimately, the school is primarily responsible for reconciliation activities and the results of the final reconciliation, including any funds owed to the Department of Education. Reject reports, Allison touched a bit on those. They're essential in helping you in identifying and resolving rejects in a timely manner. Multiple COD and G5 reports and COD web screens discussed in the previous section will help to ensure cash and disbursement data matches the school and the Department of Education. It is important to be aware of some common disbursement discrepancies so that you can choose the right tool for diagnosing the underlying issue. Common discrepancies includes unacknowledged disbursement batches, rejected disbursements, incorrect disbursement dates, disbursements recorded in business office and not in financial aid office. Please visit the COD website, School Summary Financial Information page to monitor cash balances daily, in addition to completing required monthly reconciliation to the SAS. When researching common disbursement discrepancies, these are some of the best reports or records to use, which are highlighted on this screen. And as Allison has pointed out numerous times, the SAS is the primary reconciliation tool for schools. Here we're going to take a couple of look at some of the common cash discrepancies, which is a timing issue. And just to give you a quick example, your school requests funds in G5 on the 30th of the month. Funds are received from the Treasury in your school account on the 1st of the month. Drawdown is processed in COD on the 1st of the following month. I'm sorry, let me back up. Funds are received from the Treasury and school bank account on the 1st of the following month. And a drawdown is processed in COD on the 1st of the following month, which means your school records may reflect the request on the 30th, but the drawdown will not appear in COD and on the SAS until the following month for reconciliation. Do I need to repeat that? No? Okay. Let's look at wrong year and split between years, which is more common in DL advanced funded schools. Wrong year can happen when school has available funds in more than one program and the wrong award year in G5. Split between years can happen if a school is dispersing for multiple overlapping award years and a disbursement roster or report is pulled for multiple years at one time. Funds may inadvertently be drawn in a single award year based on the total and any funds availability. Funds needed to be returned as a refund of cash, and funds recycled for disbursement in a different award year. Recycle equals reuse. Remember, funds are school, program, and award year specific. When researching common cash discrepancies, these are some of the best reports and records to use. And here's a few tips for closeout tools and reminders. Change your SAS options to request year-to-date information for this final reconciliation. This will help you to identify any remaining unreconciled transactions and any unresolved balances to be addressed. For Pell, schools can also choose to request a Pell reconciliation file or year-to-date file to assist with final reconciliation and closeout of all records. If an extension is needed, after the data submission deadline, as Allison has said before, you're ready to process, you can request extended processing. And that was all I had here. I'm going to turn you guys back over to Allison.
Thank you, Lisa. So let's look at completing your toolkit. What's new? We talked a little bit about funding earlier in the presentation. For direct loans, there are two ways that you may be receiving funding, either that initial authorization and then scheduled funding increases throughout the year that operates more like a credit limit, where you draw down what you need based on immediate need, or records first processing, which ensures that funds are available when or if needed based on schools' accepted actual disbursements. And that second one is a lot more like how Pell and Teach currently operate. Did you know direct loan records first processing is available to all schools? It can allow schools to process similarly to Pell and Teach, and it applies additional controls to prevent access to excess funds, since funding is based on actual disbursement data. So this can greatly simplify your reconciliation. And here's why. If you're submitting disbursement data to COD, that comes in, and when your NAPD is higher than your current funding level, it will automatically increase that funding. COD sends the information over to G5, and those funds are available to your school within 1 business day. When you draw those funds, you are already matching between your disbursements and your drawdown data. This means that at the end of the month, it's much less likely that you're going to have some of those timing differences where maybe you drew down and the disbursements didn't get reported right away, or you drew down and the disbursements rejected and you took some time to resolve those rejects. So again, it can greatly simplify your reconciliation. Direct loan records first processing can begin automatically if your school's initial authorization is exhausted. So there's no need to request records first, and there's no need to request additional funds because the system will automatically increase your CFL based on those disbursements that are accepted in the system. Or if you'd like to start out your year or switch to a records first processing model, you can request that at any time by contacting your COD reconciliation coordinator at COD, and COD will forward your request to FSA. Once we've approved your request, we will let you know that it's approved. We'll make sure that if there's a CFL for the award year that you wanted to be records first, that gets reduced. And if it's for a new award year, we simply won't assign an initial authorization to your school. And then you can go on your way and report your disbursements and see those increases. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the unique entity identifier. Many of you may not have heard this term yet. You should know that the DUNS number, which is a key identifier that is used, both grantee and payee DUNS, in the G5 system. That number is also fed to the COD system and other systems that need access to the information, and helps identify which school is assigned to be funded. Okay? That DUNS number will no longer be used in government systems effective December 2020. So we've got about a year before this goes into effect, and right now we're in a transition period. So your DUNS is still effective, that 9-character number, but we are encouraging schools to register in the System for Award Management, or SAM, as soon as possible. Up until this point, schools were not required to register their DUNS for Title IV aid programs in the SAM system, but now you will need to be registered in order to receive that new unique identity identifier, which is a 12-character alphanumeric identifier, which will look different than your DUNS. So if you register now, as soon as the functionality has been brought up to speed, you will be issued that unique entity identifier for your records. After December of 2020, there will be no more DUNS, but if you were to register a new register for the first time in SAM, you would be assigned that unique entity identifier. I'm struggling with that term. I'll just say UEI. For more information, please check the GSA website that is listed here, and we will also be publishing more information on Ifap as it becomes available. Here's a list of upcoming data submission deadlines. I'm not going to read through all of them. I will note that one that is not listed here, because we were focused on 2020 and forward, is that December 13th, 2019 that Lisa mentioned earlier that has to do with corrections to the 2020-21 FSAP. Make sure that if you have any corrections that you're submitting them by that date. Some finishing touches and additional resources. There are lots of wonderful conference sessions at this year's Federal Student Aid Training Conference, and there's a few listed here that have more information on some of the topics that we only had a tiny bit of time to touch on here. So I highly recommend that you explore some of these sessions. You can also access the FSA Handbook. Volume 4, Chapters 5 and 6 are the reconciliation chapters. So you'll want to make note of those and make sure that you've read those for the most complete information. You can also access COD technical reference through the Ifap website, and the sections of that are most useful for reconciliation information and closeout are the implementation guide, edit code rejects section, reports, and direct loan tools. Monitor Ifap frequently, as we mentioned before, for updates that are ongoing. We have wonderful, wonderful help desks available for both G5 and COD to help you troubleshoot issues. And with that, we are ready for some questions and answers. Just a few reminders. If you want to ask a question, I ask that you come to the middle of the room. We have a microphone here. If you ask your question into the microphone, everybody in the room can hear, and then we can respond appropriately. When you do step up to the microphone, if you can tell us who you are and what school you're from, we'd love to get that introduction. And if at the end you have any additional questions that you were unable to be answered or they're maybe too detailed for this session, please do come see us afterwards, either COD reconciliation coordinators, Lisa or myself, to ask those questions. We'll just ask that you proceed to the back of the room at that point so that we can get ready for the next session. Okay, with that, who will be first? Questions?
Hi, my name is Alexandra Tubbs. Excuse me. I'm from the University of Arkansas System eVersity. We're a 100% online school. We are non-standard. We have rolling starts, so we're really messy processing. So my question is about the extended processing request. For example, we could have a student that comes to us in our February session of this next year. Actually, it's March this next year. We will award them out of the 1920 year. They will be awarded for 8 starts because 8 sessions makes up our financial aid academic year. So their processing will run into the 2021 award year. We will not be done, excuse me, I'm so sorry. We will not be done processing them until February of 2021, yes, thank you. We disperse per session, so they have the 8 disbursements per year. So we report those per session as well. Do we need to just go ahead and request extended processing once it gets closer to that, or do we need to go ahead and do the closeout and request extended processing? Because we're going to be processing them for quite a while. This will be with Pell and loans.
Okay, I was going to ask if it was both programs. That is a very long and detailed question.
Sorry about that.
And thank you for being first. That's wonderful. I think that we're going to need to explore a little bit more of the detail around that. So I'm going to give you a general answer and then ask that you come and visit with us afterwards. Sure. Okay. So when you have non-standard terms and you have a scenario where you're going to fall into that crossover period, we frequently see the need to request extended processing for that reason. And that is an acceptable reason to make the request. Just be aware that per those Federal Register notices that we spoke of earlier, Pell has some very specific limits to how long you can extend the year for those reasons. Direct
Okay.
loans has borrower-based academic years, which operate a little bit differently and can extend much further. It's one of the reasons that in direct loans, our closeout deadline that is further out than it is for the other programs like Pell and Teach.
Okay.
So definitely come up afterwards and we'll explore in more detail
Okay.
other than that general answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Yes.
Hi, Michael Murdy's Landmark College. Much quicker question. SAS on-demand detail report. I failed to see the header that has the disbursement date. Could someone show me, please, where that is? I see book date, I see disbursement amount, I see loan. I don't see disbursement date.
You don't see disbursement
Yeah,
date.
can you show me where it is? Put it up.
We can discuss that. We'd have to actually show you in the
Well,
record
you got
with the
COD folks here, right?
technical
So
reference.
doesn't someone, do you know where the disbursement date header, where it is?
Okay. So we're going to get some contact information and email the answer. The information is in the record. I will say, if you're receiving direct loan fixed length format, the headers are not in the record itself. You would have to use the COD technical reference. If you're getting a comma delimited with headers, the names are actually in the file. Okay. Yes, question?
I think this is really easy, quick. I'm Grace McGinnis from Prairie State College. Question is, how does financial aid administrators get view-only access to G5?
View-only access to G5?
Yeah.
There are different variations of access. If you contact the G5 help desk, they can walk you through how to request the correct level of access for read-only. Okay. All right. Any other questions? No? Well, thank you very much for coming to our session. I'm very excited to see so many new faces and some that I'm very familiar with. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the conference.